Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy.
And this week we are returning to the MCU for the second MCU film for this calendar year.
Yeah.
Second of three.
Yep.
And we are going to be talking about, of course, Thunderbolts. Asterix.
Yes.
Thunderbolts Asterix.
Yes.
The official name of the movie, I believe. So Thunderbolts is a movie that teams up numerous characters from other properties, kind of second and tertiary characters. Primarily Yelena from Black Widow, played by Florence Pugh, and of course Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, both again from the Black Widow movie. Takes Walker from the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show.
Yep.
And who else? Ghost from
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Actually, it was
no.
just Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yes, I'm sorry. Taskmaster,
who was also from Black Widow.
From Black Widow. Yeah.
And then of course Bucky.
Yeah.
From
tons of stuff.
Yeah, from a lot of the MCU.
Yeah, I think this is like his ninth one or something.
From the good old days of the MCU, some might say.
Yeah.
So it's their sort of team up movie, and together they team up to it's complicated and yet ultimately doesn't matter. We won't go into we'll go into it as we talk about the movie, but for the setup purposes, just them teaming up
they have to team up.
Be a new hero group.
Yeah.
Andy, what did you think of Thunderbolts?
We're back. I love Thunderbolts. I don't know if we're back or not. It's going to take more than one movie for me to say that. I love this movie. I thought this was excellent. I had a great time, and it solved so many of the complaints I've had with recent MCU stuff. Big fan. 2 thumbs up.
Andy?
Yeah.
I also loved this movie.
Yes.
I had said in the lead up to it that I was like weirdly kind of like getting hyped for it. Like the ads were getting me into it. And I was like, I didn't want that because I've kind of enjoyed the low expectations that I've had for MCU movies. I feel like it's helped me enjoy them more than maybe even most people by just being like, I don't have high expectations. And this one was like, I kind of think this might be really good. And I was like, oh, don't do that, Jeremy. Don't get yourself hopeful.
Yeah.
And then you're right. Like I had a really good time.
I had a blast with this movie.
That said, I'm going to end up complaining about some things in this movie, as I always do. When I like things and then I end up nitpicking and I go, people aren't even going to believe.
Passionate about it.
People aren't even going to believe that I like it, but I did like it. And let's talk through like some of the things that really worked in this movie. So first off, just awesome cast in this movie.
Oh man, everyone did so good.
Yeah, it really is a sort of a starring vehicle for Florence Pugh. Even though it's a team-up movie, like it's her character is very central in it, which, I mean, I guess you could kind of guess from the marketing, but I was still a little surprised just how much.
Yeah, it's basically a Yelena movie.
Especially with Bucky in it.
Yeah.
You know,
Bucky really takes a supporting...
He sure does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it leans heavily into her, and Florence Pugh is great. It reminded me of why years ago when she had Fighting With My Family and then Little Women come out.
Yeah.
And I realized it was the same person. I said, who is this person?
She's the star.
Buying so much stock in her. And not that like I was doubting it in more recent years, but it was just kind of like, okay, you know, I think I just kind of got used to it. Like she kind of hit a level and I was like, okay, it's Florence Pugh and she's good.
Yeah.
And then this happened and I was like, oh, right, this is why.
She's a star.
Because you're sitting there going like, I mean, she's playing kind of a silly character. When you really think about it, it's like, she's playing this assassin with this accent.
That's ridiculous.
In a superhero movie, and you're going like, it could go wrong so easily.
Yeah. And
yet I'm sitting here going like, this is one of my favorite performances in the MCU.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to watch on screen.
You could almost, I think, she could carry the flag for the MCU going forward.
Yeah.
She really could.
Which is, I mean, again, remarkable if you think about the evolution of this character, where this character was, I don't know what the plan was for this character beyond Black Widow when she shows up in there. I think it was kind of clearly planted seeds like, hey, if we need sort of a replacement Black Widow, she can be sort of the replacement Black Widow. And here she is, like, Black Widow took forever to get her own movie. And then she finally did after she had died in the MCU. It was kind of a whole mess how they handled Black Widow.
It kind of was, yeah.
I almost feel for Scarlett Johansson that Florence Pugh's getting more to work with
Yeah.
than she ever did. But yeah, I mean, like here she is with her own movie much quicker than Black Widow got her own movie and crushing it.
Yeah, she's killing
She's
it.
gone way beyond what I think they could have imagined as like stand-in for Black Widow, because we've talked about it. A lot of these new MC movies are kind of giving us stand-ins for old.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we got a new Captain America.
Yeah, we have a new Falcon. We have a new...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of the stand-ins feel like
Stand-ins.
stand-ins. I mean, you're feeling the effect of these aren't the original. This is the only one where it feels like, is this
totally
one
fine.
actually like outshining the original?
She's just phenomenal. She doesn't miss a beat in this movie.
Yeah, so good. David Harbour is so funny.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why even like he can be saying the most mundane things, just being big over the top Russian goofball.
It's great. It really feels like David Harbour is having a blast, and it's really coming through on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Sebastian Stan, I think he could play Bucky in his sleep. He can hit the MCU rhythms
He can,
so
but
well.
you know what? It doesn't mean it's not impressive when he does do it.
Yes.
That's the thing. Where it's like he's been doing this for a long, like you said, it's probably like, okay, da 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 da, but he nails it every time.
Yeah, I definitely didn't mean that to,
No,
to be
I
discounting.
didn't think you did, but it's like
I meant to say like he's so good at it.
He's
at
so
this
good
point
at it.
that like
yeah,
I mean, of course, most of us were introduced to Sebastian Stan as Bucky, but it's to the point where when he's on the screen, you're not going, "Hey, Sebastian Stan's going to go." You're just like, "It's Bucky. It's
Bucky.
It's just Bucky."
He's great.
And when we see him in other things, it's like, "Hey, look at Bucky doing something else."
He's great. And it's really, really smart for this movie, I think, to have Bucky because it's that connection to the old MCU.
Yeah.
Mixed with these new MCU people.
Yeah. Speaking of new, the introduction of the character Bob. Bob is sort of our villain of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those movies where again, I talked about the plot's a little convoluted.
Sure.
So, you know, the villain is sort of the idea of like mental illness, mental health is like the big bad. Or you could say the villain is, you know, the more political people pulling the strings, behind the strings.
Yeah.
And then they do kind of have to face off with him, but he's I don't know. It's complicated. It doesn't really matter because again, it's all about them teaming up.
Yeah.
But Lewis Pullman is great.
He's so good. He's so good. To be as goofy and awkward as he has to be, but as menacing as he has to be also, not easy to pull off. And he does both of them incredibly well.
He does. I actually think you're right. He does them both well. I was looking forward to the like menacing, seeing Bob go full, you know, superhero, supervillain. Mm-hmm. He was doing such a good job as like awkward, uncomfortable.
Like we can just stay
goofball.
here.
I was actually, yeah, exactly. I was like, this is enough. When they're trying to escape that laboratory, whatever it is, the vault.
Again, doesn't really matter.
And I mean,
He's
just
great.
Down to the stuff like his kind of awkward laughing, like I'm sorry, you know, like everything was great.
He's great.
Got a great look too.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, just there's something about being Bill Pullman's son and looking like him that just makes you already kind of likable. It's a leg up. I'll give you that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, because Bill Pullman always had one of those faces that's just like, this just looks like a nice, likable guy, and Lewis has that.
He has it.
But just the hair and everything was perfect.
It's
for
perfect.
this character. It's
just perfect.
Everything was pitch perfect.
It is.
I loved him being Bob, even though like he wanted a different name because he had just been Bob in Top Gun, as you pointed out like a week ago or so. Yeah, but it was perfect. And speaking of people who kind of resemble their dads and are great, Wyatt Russell is.
I thought he was so good in this movie.
So good.
And this movie is so well written because it's like in Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus show, it was like, okay, whatever. And then it was like, oh, like this guy now. He's awesome. He can pull off cocky so well. He looks, you know, like a stud kind of. And then when he kind of softens a little bit as the movie goes on, he does that very believably. Everyone nailed their part in this movie.
Yeah. It is the type of movie where I don't know how much credit to give to writing or actors or both because they're so good. I mean, talking about David Harbour, like I wouldn't be surprised to learn that he was improvising every one of his lines, which again are not like super creative lines. He just delivers them so well. Yeah. With Wyatt Russell, maybe it is the good writing, but it's also like he kind of is working with the least and of all the people who stand out anyways. And the fact that like I walk away, feeling like I got a lot
really
from him.
Liked him in this movie.
And then
a
if
lot.
I think back on it, I'm like, he didn't really have a lot. Like there was just moments.
He made he made everything count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So yeah, really good performances all around from there. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I'm kind of take it or leave it with her in this movie. Like
I do think she does a really good job of just being like her job is to just be the slime ball.
Yeah.
And she does a great job of it. And she's always like she just like lie on top of a lie on top of a lie to get what she wants. So I think that stuff works.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame her. I just think the character is meant to just push the plot.
She is.
And so
she
she's
is.
just
I don't
got
doubt
to
that
like
at all.
just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
And it's not doing her any favors to be like, hey, you're just going to like every decision you make as a viewer, they're going to be like, what? Why would you do that? And it's like, because the plot has to happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not her fault, but it is just not a very, I don't know. It's not a very easy role to pull. So maybe I should give her more credit for the fact that it kind of worked.
I think she does it well.
But yeah. So all those people were good. This movie had that Marvel banter thing going really well.
Yes, Marvel can do they do team ups so well.
Yeah.
They really do team ups well.
Yeah. And there was great little flourishes throughout. Like one thing that I did actually kind of notice, but I also read it online. Somebody pointed it out. And so I'm like, I think I picked up on this, but I'll just say that I read it too, is that the Walker character is the first one to use that Go Thunderbolts thing as a callback to something Yelena said. And it's when, they're having the argument and he's laying out all his credentials. And so Yelena throws out, I was on a soccer team. We were called the Thunderbolts, sponsored by these people. We didn't win a game. A girl pooped, all this. And somebody made the point of like, it's subtle, but it's showing you like Walker was paying attention. Yeah. He was listening and he remembered. And when he makes that callback, it's a subtle like, hey, like, yeah, I'm paying attention when you talk. And it's like, that is exactly what we're talking about. It's almost a throwaway thing in the movie. They don't spend time explaining it, but it shows a lot about the character that he's like, I'm on board. I'm listening to you.
Like
I pay attention.
I have a little bit of an attitude, but I'm still here to like, let's do this.
Yes.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah. I will say I was kind of surprised that this is another one of those happens all within like, I don't know, 36 hours type movies.
I loved how straightforward this was. Like, yes, it's convoluted and the void and all this stuff, but yeah, it feels very focused, which is definitely a word that gets thrown around a lot with they have a lack of focus. The MCU does. It's a lot of people's complaints like post Endgame. Just like, what are we doing? We're introducing this and like all this stuff that goes over. This movie felt very, very focused to me.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that.
All right. Now for a little bit of criticism. For a team-up movie, they didn't really round out the team very well. And this is what I mean by that. First off, well, spoiler alert. We're going to get into some spoilers here. So if anybody hasn't seen it, just be aware. Spoilers, because the very first thing I'm going to have to say is a bit of a spoiler. Taskmaster, who's throughout all the advertising and posters and stuff, is in like 2 minutes of this movie and then gets shot in the head and is done.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, okay, well, guess
you know what, though?
It.
I think the MCU needs to clean some house a little bit. I'm not against it.
Yeah. And you know what? That's fine. It really more plays like a combination of Taskmaster and Ghost. Ghost was in the rest of the movie.
Didn't have a lot to do.
Didn't have anything to do.
No.
Like literally, I thought we didn't learn anything new about this character.
No, you don't know where she's been really. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there going like, this is such a Yelena focused movie and introducing Bob and everything.
Yeah.
And as I said, like,
couple people do suffer.
David Harbour gets to shine because he's so funny, but it doesn't really grow his character.
No.
Walker makes the most of a few moments, but honestly, like, again, looking back at it, it doesn't do a whole lot with his character. He just gets to shine because he's really good at doing it. It doesn't do anything new with Bucky. In fact, it kind of relegates Bucky.
I don't disagree with
that.
that.
And so all these things are going like, man, like, for a movie that I liked so much, when I look back on it, I'm going like they didn't really grow out the team very much. And like one of the things I thought was interesting was like Ghost was, like I said, in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then just completely like, you know, never mentioned again, just a forgotten thing.
And now she's just back.
And she's back. I'm like, okay, well, now they're going to do something with it. We're going to learn something more about Ghost. They're going to make something out of this. But then it really just felt like we need to fill out a team somehow. We don't have anything else, but we don't have anything for them to do. And so I was just a little disappointed about that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, so does Ghost now have to be with the Thunderbolts going forward because she's part of the team, and it kind of is advertised like that? I'm like, you know, like, boy, people joke that Hawkeye was a weak member of the original Avengers. And
we got a new.
Ghost might be the weakest, member of any group.
I can't really argue with you there.
So that was a little bit disappointing because I just thought, I honestly thought with Ghost and Taskmaster, they were both like very small parts in previous movies. I thought, okay, well, they're going to explore these characters a little more.
Yeah.
And then
not so much.
No,
not so much.
Yeah. So that was a bit, just a bit disappointing. Again, not enough to like throw off the movie. Again, part of it is movies can only do so much. These aren't 10 hours of TV series.
You're right.
You know, so.
Yep. And I can always see the reverse side where we could be sitting there going, man, I don't care about Ghost's backstory.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
The movie could have been 3 hours and we could have gotten 30 minutes of Ghost build up and we would have said, you know what,
dude, they need to cut that
Ghost storyline. So you're exactly right.
So you kind of just, like, to me, I'm just more easily able to go, okay, Ghost is on this team. It looks cool when she disappears. Like, it's a good skill to have on your team, I guess. But your points are valid.
Yeah. So let's try to make more sense of this actual plot because I didn't really walk through it. So the plot, like I said, the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character,
she's
Valentina. Valentina.
Something that blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She's kind of been... She's been pulling the strings on a lot of these characters.
Exactly.
And she's trying to wipe out all the loose ends.
Right. She's under investigation is basically the start of the movie. So yeah, she's just trying to wipe out all her like dark secrets.
Which again is another thing. I will say that was a good way to get all the, because it's like these characters would all never be together. So I did appreciate that. Like, okay, she's luring them all to this place and she's going to kill them. I like it. Yeah.
It was, you're right. It's a good way to like get them together and, kind of force them to have to work together.
Yeah. I thought I was smart.
Because there was even a moment where I was like, man, this, they would have never teamed up to fight back against her. She hadn't put them all together, and didn't she see it coming that if they all got together, they might explain and figure it out? But then I realized, it didn't matter because it wasn't about them killing each other. It was about getting them all in the trap at once to like fire them or, incinerate them. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. And they escape from that. So it was like, okay, that actually made sense. Yeah. If I have another complaint, go on. Yes. It does a little bit of the Suicide Squad thing. This was a complaint I had about the first Suicide Squad, not the James Gunn one, the David Ayers one. Yeah. Is like these people are maybe bonding a little too fast because it is such a like short time thing. Now, the difference is in this one, I think they did it much better. Like they did bond, but the problem with the Suicide Squad is that by the end you had what's her name, Margot Robbie's character, Harley Quinn, like say like we're family, whatever. It's like we have one night of all you villains fighting together, now you're family. Right. It didn't go that far, but it does feel like sometimes, with the old Avengers, I don't know what it was like. Even as I think back at the original Avengers movie, they were all teamed up, but they didn't force like a bond between them all. There was like this awkward friction throughout the whole movie.
There was always a lot of conflict.
Yeah, and then you really didn't feel the bonds until like future Avengers movies. Yeah. So it's like you can't rush these things, and I was a little worried they were rushing in this. Now, again, I think they tempered it better than I was saying like the Suicide Squad movie did. For sure. By the end, they weren't having these grand like we're inseparable now or anything like that. But I do think, I don't know, I just think maybe in the future we can justify them being a little more of a close team or something. Yeah. It's just, and part of it is, again, I'm glad they streamlined the plot so it was like 36 hours. I just thought it was going to take place over more time. And so maybe you get more of like the sense like they've had time to bond together. Right. I don't know. I don't know if that's even a legitimate complaint.
I think
I
it
just have a
is.
lot of thoughts.
No,
So
I think it's legit. I mean it's just kind of like, not even just superhero movies. If you're gonna watch movies, there's just sometimes you just have to go. You just have to accept this.
yeah.
You just do. And I do think sometimes it's easier for me because I'm not as much of a thinker as you are. So you struggle more with like, I can't reconcile this.
Stop being critical. That's
And
my
I'm just
problem.
dumb, and so I just am able to go, well, that's cool. Like something blew up, and then that distracted me enough to, or something made me laugh, and so I was like, okay, it's fine. But you're right. I mean, and like I said, it's not just an MCU or a superhero thing. A lot of movies do this, where it's like, boy, they were trying to kill each other 3 hours ago in the movie, and now they're, it's like Riggs and Murtaugh and Lethal Weapon. Like this goes way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
And wow, we got distracted from trying to figure out this plot. Yeah, so she gets them all in one place, thinking they're going to be trapped in.
Right.
She's going to incinerate them with all the evidence so that just everything's gone. It's there that they find Bob. Bob just is sort of there, and he doesn't know how he got there. Yeah. He's just in scrubs. He's just sort of a goober. And so they're like, okay, we've got this guy with us now. And Yelena kind of
pretty quickly
is protective of him.
Yeah, she latches onto him. Kind of like I got a sympathy, kind of.
Yeah. And one of the better moments is, I might mess up the lines here, but she says something like, "You can trust me," and he goes, "Can I?" And she's basically just goes like, well, no. Like, I'll be honest, like, I'm not the type of person you want to trust.
Right.
I mean, she's going through sort of an identity crisis in this movie. Like,
but I will say, too, like, it's not, the movie literally starts with that.
Yeah.
With her going, like, I'm just lost. And is that how she's like, I'm confused or I'm lost or something? I'm bored. So it's like, right off the bat, you do establish, like, she needs something to latch onto. Because she's talking about, like, I just go through the motions and I'm lonely. So... yes, it's ridiculous and it's sped up, but it's like, at least they try to make it make some sense. That she just needs someone to latch onto and to feel,
And each of these characters, even though they've all been a little bit of like anti-heroes or something, they've all shown and previously like some noble characteristics.
Right. So I did appreciate that. They don't go from like just the bad guy to just all of a sudden they're just like, like they weren't bad guys. They were all misunderstood, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I mean, from obviously Walker was supposed to be the new Captain America. He was supposed to be like the perfect guy. And
like,
he
I
just had
can't
to
live
fall
up to
from
this.
grace. Yeah. But all that stuff's still in there. His desire to be that hero. Of course, Red Guardian was kind of like Russia's Captain America. Yeah. That's how he viewed himself. So it made him sort of a villain to the American side of things, but in his mind, like he's the one who most is like outspoken about, I want to be a hero.
I want to do, exactly. That's in character for him.
Yeah. And then Yelena being an assassin, but obviously with the Black Widow stuff, like there's that connection of like
I had no choice in this.
Exactly. I want to be a hero. Ghost.
I don't remember exactly what her said, but she was somehow like being manipulated in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and
it was she had been like tested on and like was just trying to survive.
It wasn't her fault.
But so all of them were kind of admirable. And then Bob shows his quality and he sacrifices himself, at least believes he's sacrificing himself so they can get escape.
Yeah.
And I think they all kind of recognize in that moment, like they all appreciate that level of sacrifice because they all have in their mind, like they can relate. They could see themselves in Bob in that moment.
Yeah. He even has a thing where it's like, just go. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like if he actually says it, but it's like, I'm just going to drag you down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to hold you back. So just go. Yeah. It's all well done.
Yeah. And then he takes the gun and shoots it and runs off. And they're all like, they're kind of shocked. Like, Bob's actually going to save us. Yeah. Like, we didn't see that coming. And that's when we get the first reveal of Bob's true nature because then...
we get little glimpses, though, because his eyes kind of turn and then, like, they go into the Yelena and...
when he touches people.
Yeah. You get glimpses of, like okay, something's up.
Yeah.
Well,
and that was an interesting something I guess we shouldn't just blow by is when he touches people, they kind of transport back to like their darkest
worst
moments.
Yeah. So that right there is just interesting and cool, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they shoot Bob and you just get
they unload on Bob.
unload on poor Bob. But it gives you, this is a great looking movie, as most MCU movies are, where he just stands up and the camera's behind him and he's almost like in the hospital, scrubs.
Yeah.
It just looks cool.
Yeah. And then you just like, I guess, instinctively
He
flies
pulls like
up,
a Superman.
Yeah, he like levitates and then takes off.
Yeah.
And then crashes back down.
Yeah.
Like a meteor from the sky. And yeah, so I is at that point do our heroes decide like they've got to go rescue and find Bob?
I think for a hot minute they're still just like, we just got to get out of here.
You're right, they are, and Red Guardian finds them.
Yeah, which is really funny. I mean, Yelena's like, oh my gosh, and he's honking his horn. But this is another one of these movies too, even if it's a superhero movie, where I do still appreciate like no one's like there's comic relief and stuff, but they're all like, yeah, she's tried to kill us. Like they all get it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit there as an audience and go like, guys, figure this out. Come on, she tried to like. They're right there on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, now that I'm remembering, so they're trying to get away. Bucky catches them all.
Awesome scene too.
It is, and it's great because at first they're like, "Hey, this guy's saving us." It's like, oh
he
no,
throws his little thing right by new Captain America, and he's like, "Oh crap" or something. Explosion. You're like, awesome, awesome.
So he's got them all caught and tied up, and they're trying to explain things to him.
They are, but and this is well set up too because Bucky's a congressman or a senator or something now.
Yeah.
He's trying to follow the rule book, and he's like, I want to get these guys because I want them to testify against Valentina.
Right.
But then he's like, yeah, Bob, blah blah blah, and then he gets a phone call confirming everything they told him. So it's like, you don't have to sit there like in limbo for very long in this movie where like Bucky doesn't know the truth. Like all that just gets resolved real quick, but not to in a good way, I felt like.
Yeah. There was some good, again, there's not a lot, so they've got to make the most of the little flourishes with Bucky where it's like he's struggling to be a senator because he knows how to do things the soldier way and not necessarily the political way. Even the great moment where he pulls Wendell Pierce's character to the side. He's like whispering. He's like, there's no cameras that can see us. The dude's like, you don't have to be like this.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, we're out of view from that camera.
Yeah, he's like, just read the packets and we'll do this through like basically legislation. And he's like, later he's trying to read the packets. He's like, oh, these are so boring.
And he spills food on it. And it's just like so funny.
And eventually he's like, yes, he still wants to get these people to testify, but still he's finally just got to revert to like, I'm going to go be this soldier for a second, catch him, and then I'll bring him in, and then we can try it this,
That's
the
good.
new way.
It's good, man.
But you're right. So they're trying to explain the situation to him. They keep talking about Bob, and he's like, Bob, huh? Yeah. And
then he gets a phone call from Valentina's assistant.
Yeah. Who he's like working to turn. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also establish that like everything that happens in this movie, there's at least some kind of reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yes. And he's like, oh, crap, these guys are telling the truth. So they're like, all right, let's go. Let's go get Bob and save the day. So, yes, it happens fast. But, we're 37 movies into the MCU by now. So, to me, it's like, let's just go. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Probably the thing that happens the most, if I was being critical of anything happening fast, this goes back to the Valentina character and why she's there just to push the plot along. She pushes along hey, one of these guys in our Sentry program, it worked apparently. Mm-hmm. So we're going to like push him out to the public.
Oh, yeah.
It's like clearly with problems. And everyone, of course, in the theater's going like, this is a bad idea. Why wouldn't you, test him a little longer? All of this. Well, because we got to get the plot going. And so that's maybe the most like,
oh, sure,
difficult one. But
at least they did bother to write in like, we made a kill switch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's... I'm not saying it's incredible writing, but at least they came up with something.
And they've got a character on screen saying what the audience is thinking. Yeah. Like, hey, this maybe not the most stable guy. Maybe we shouldn't just throw him out there.
I think the assistant character is actually really helpful in this movie because, she gets to get to say everything that we want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it all leads to a great moment. So, like, Bucky, they're like, Bob. And he's like, oh, my gosh. And then all the Thunderbolts are like, Bob. They say Bob like 20 times. You get Red Guardian just going, yes, which is all great. And they're like, let's go. We know where Valentina is. She's in the old Avengers Tower. She bought it. They're all driving together, and they're like, what's our plan? And then it just cuts to that Jeep just driving right through the building. And I was like, people literally clapped in our theater.
Yeah.
They were like that, it was like that fun, like that was really funny. And they just gave that a clap.
Yeah. And then they're fighting and beating people up. And then Valentina's just like over the intercom. She's like, I just left the door open for you.
You guys
come on
don't
up.
So yeah. So it's like this deep into the MCU and we're still getting like pretty legitimately funny moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go up, and this is when for the first time they encounter Bob as Sentry.
Awesome. This part is awesome.
And he's kind of gotten the Homelander makeover. Like if you've seen the show The Boys,
Yeah.
he's like they dyed his hair blonde. He's in the bright suit. Like
And I love that they even acknowledge the hair.
yeah.
Like they're like, is your hair a different color? Like it's just that's why I say this movie's just so fun. But this part, awesome. This is awesome.
It was a little bit Justice League when Superman wakes up, but
It was, but I don't know. It just looked cool to me. Like it looked good up on the screen. It didn't look like there's the part where like he sends Red Guardian like flying out a window and then he brings him back in. And again, I shouldn't be surprised because it's the MCU, but the CGI and all that stuff just looked so good. It never was like, well, CGI. I mean, it's CGI, obviously, but like it's just cool to see him just beat the crap out of these guys. And I thought that was all really cool.
yeah. So yeah, he lays a smack down on him, and then he lets him leave, I guess.
I love the little touches in this movie where it's like he just beats the crap out of him and they just leave. They're like, all right, man, like you got us. And they just like leave. And you're like, that's kind of a nice twist on something we've seen a lot of times in movies before.
Yeah.
The hero's coming up against a villain who's out of their league and he beats the crap out of him. Usually they'd either be half dead or they'd be taken prisoner or something. And they're just like, all right, get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Valentine is like, you should all right, go finish him off. And he's like, no,
They're beneath me.
Yeah, and he's
this
like,
is where
why
it's
am I
like-
going to listen to you?
And this is where like it's like, oh, Lewis Pullman kind of BA in this movie.
Yeah.
And what does he even say? He gets a line about like, you're telling me I'm better than all the Avengers, and at least one of them is a god. So I'm better than a god. Like,
Yeah, he says, "Why would a god listen to you?" And she's like, "Well, getting ahead of yourself, conscious of a god." And then he says that justification.
yeah, and it's like this is all really
like,
good.
this is what you
It's all
said.
happening fast, but it's still well done.
yeah,
And so it's like this quickly goes to his head, but like at least you're understanding. They try to explain it, and it's like good stuff.
yeah. And she, again, going back to positive things they do well, she very quickly goes, "Oh,
Ooh.
you're right. This is getting out of hand," and so she's going to activate the kill switch, and she does.
Yeah,
But of course, it doesn't kill him. It
yeah. The
just,
assistant actually ends up doing it.
Oh yeah,
because she's
you're
going
right.
to do it. And he grabs her by
Yeah.
the throat. Good part too, because I was like, oh, I thought maybe he was going to kill her.
Yeah,
So that was all well done, and they kill switch him, and then you get Florence Pugh really shining when she has that. Her and David Harbour have this conversation, and she just kind of breaks down and she starts crying. They're just out in the street, but it's such good acting on Florence Pugh's part.
yeah. That was my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah,
I'll be
I mean,
honest
she
with
even
you.
she just says, "I'm so lonely." That's what she says, and you're
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, sheesh!" Like,
And then David Harbour's equally really good in the
Really
scene,
good.
and he gives the whole speech about like they keep referencing back to that soccer team that
Oh
didn't
my
win a
gosh.
game, and he's like, "You remember why you wanted to be the goalie?" And she's like, "So I didn't have to run as much." And he's like, "Well, that was probably part of it." But he's like, "You said you wanted when whatever the line was,
like I want to
you-
basically just be the leader, and like I want to."
when other people make mistakes, you want to be there to like help
Yeah.
them, like to fix it for them." And he's like, "When I see you, I don't see your mistakes."
Yeah.
And that
And it's
idea,
like, dang, this is good stuff.
so good. And before that, it was even like when she's mad at him because he disappeared for the whole year, like never reached out after she lost her sister,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I didn't think you'd want to hear from me," and she's
Yeah.
like, "Well, I did," and it's
Yeah.
just kind of like like that's a very real life thing where people just kind of assume like, well, they've got their own things going on, and
I'm just
they
gonna
don't
leave 'em
need-
alone. And then it
yeah.
just goes too
And
far.
it turns out like they just did want you to reach out
Yeah.
and be part of it. So like, yeah, really like shockingly emotional stuff in this movie,
Really?
which I just need to go back and say like, this movie was really different than I expected because from the previews I thought we're gonna have another like really fun,
It's heavy.
and it is a lot darker than I expected. Now there's fun all throughout it.
Oh,
like
it's
most
fun.
MCU movies, it still gets the fun, but way heavier than I would have ever guessed.
And this is what I mean too, like when I say like this does feel like we're back if you're just going off this one movie. Because it's doing what the MCU does so good. That mixture of emotion, fun, and action.
Yeah.
Like MCU, that's what you do so well. And it's really on display in this movie. Because really, from that point on, once Yelena and Red Guardian have that conversation, the whole rest of the movie is really heavy on emotion.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to get to it because we're kind of following the beats, but like, kudos to them for not just ending the movie in just a big giant fight. Like, we've seen this before. It goes way different than I thought, where they just end up in the void.
Yeah.
And by the way, the MCU finds great ways to like cinematically, like Thanos and now Sentry, like the void, like them just turning into this shadow thing is awesome.
Yeah.
They do a really good job when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah. So Sentry, after the kill switch is engaged,
Then they really take him
goes
off.
like dark Sentry, and I mean that quite literally.
Literally.
Like, he comes back as like this shadowed
It
character.
looks so cool.
So menacing.
And he is just hovering above the city. And you're like, that's awesome.
It kind of reminded me of, not to say it's like a ripoff in any way, but the movie Brightburn that came out several years ago that was like, we're going to do dark Superman. Like, what if Superman story was just, he went bad
and
guy?
I can just basically...
And I was watching going like, this is what Brightburn should have been. This is dark Superman. This dark figure floating in the crowds like, I'm all powerful, but I thought
all that was really awesome.
I will say, because of the nature of the MCU, it was telegraphed a little bit that all the people that he was, avoiding. When the first one was that little girl, I said, well, all these people are going to come back. Because the MCU is not going to wipe out a little girl.
Absolutely.
Maybe it could have wiped out some adults, and it could have been like they're dead. But
that was never in doubt. And they honestly, after Thanos and the snap, they don't need to do a villain just wipes out tons of people. And again, I don't think they need to. I'm going to tell you what, though. When that little girl got voided... that drew like an audible gasp in our theater. And I mean from like almost everyone that was in the theater.
Yeah.
Like that moment worked.
Right before that, it was like a heroic saving of that little girl by Red Guardian. You get like the hero moment, and then it's just like, boop, gone.
Boom. And I mean, my theater was like it worked, man, because it got an audible reaction in my theater.
Yeah. So then we got Dark Sentry up there. The void is like spreading. The heroes are running away, and they're basically like, we don't have any way to fight this. None of us are like really that super.
Yeah.
We got a couple
and
of people
at one point in the movie,
serum.
even one of them's like, none of us can fly.
Yeah.
Like they comment on that.
Yeah. But then Yelena just still has this sort of connection with Bob, still believes in Bob, thinks she can maybe get through to him, and she just walks herself into the void, which is...
And this is the climax of our movie.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to, like I was saying, with the Bob sacrificing himself thing, where all of them kind of saw, like, something they admired and something they all hoped that they could be. Mm-hmm. And I think in that moment, she's like, yeah, like, I think maybe if I walk into this, I can reach Bob and I can get through him, but maybe I'm just walking to my death, and it's the chance I'm going to take.
Yes, and they've established that the whole movie with her just basically being like, I mean, more or less like depressed. Mm-hmm. So when she's kind of standing there, she does such a great job, and the movie does such a great job. You can interpret it either way or both ways at the same time. Like, I'm going to go in here and find Bob, and if this is a walk into my death, so be it.
Yeah.
And it's like they do that without like hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the plan does go like she hopes. She finds Bob. Yeah. And Bob is, again, really well done by Pullman, because he has to be so many things. And Pullman's basically at this point in this void being like the scared little abused kid who just found a safe room to hang out in.
It even says that, like, this is
the nicest
room I could find.
Yeah.
And then below you see, like, that he's abused, his mom's abused. Yeah. So it's like, again, this movie is dealing with some really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. But all this stuff in the void is so cool. Like, she's in the forest when, like, part of her training was to lure this young girl to her death, which is also dark. Mm-hmm. But it's like she keeps running, and then she just runs right back into the same moment. Then at one point she leaves, but, like, the room she was previously in is, like, down from her. Like, all really cool.
Yeah.
It's all really well done.
Yeah. So the rest of the team follows her in. Mm-hmm. They kind of like decide she's doing the thing maybe we should all be doing, and they follow her. So they all end up in that room together, and they all end up basically having to take on Dark Sentry's kind of in there too with them. It's almost like a separate...
It is.
It's kind of like the two personalities of Bob.
Exactly. That's a good way to look at it. And then, they have to... So it ultimately ends with, like, they're detained. Bob is beating the crap out of Dark Sentry, turning dark himself, and they're like, Bob, this is what he wants. And then it's going to sound so stupid, they kind of just save the day with the power of a hug.
Yeah.
basically, and like an acceptance of Bob, and like, you know, it's like them saying like, Bob, you can like just be with us now.
Yeah.
And it sounds so hokey when I'm saying it, but it works.
Yeah.
It works.
So I don't have a favorite bit of trivia from IMDb this week, but I have a favorite thing that I've read online. Like it was on like Threads or something. Somebody pointed out again with the Walker character and like the subtle flourishes that Walker calls Bob Bobby.
Yeah.
Early in the movie and does it several times, and Bob's like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then we see when he's in the void in the scene, we can hear or kind of see through the cracks below him of the dad being abusive. The dad calls him Bobby. And hits him.
Yep.
And then when they're all kind of running through there to go to the next place, it's Walker that punches the dad.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, he's calling him Bob. He doesn't call him Bobby.
Yep.
And it's like this little
it's
little
good
notes
stuff,
that they
man.
don't focus on him. Like, I didn't catch that. That's really great stuff. And great, like, again, little flourishes from Walker, who's kind of like the jock bully a little bit, but is
deep down
actually
he is a good guy.
And
Yeah.
when he sees that moment, it reinterprets the way he's going to act and behave. Yep. But again, the fact that they don't spell it out, and I could miss that and then read it, but remember it,
and it makes sense.
And I go, that's awesome.
That's the kind of stuff that where you go, this is a good just movie, period. Let alone a good MCU movie.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, like the kind of stuff that like I liked Captain America: Brave New World. It was fine, but those are the kind of flourishes that movie was missing.
Yeah.
That Thunderbolts just does so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, unbelievably enough, like that's the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like now that we're out of the void, now we've got this other big threat to fight. And I really think it's the MCU being very self-aware and being like, we don't need to see another like destruction of New York and the Avengers Tower. We've done that numerous times. So it all takes place in this void, and it's just about helping Bob basically overcome trauma. It's a swing, but I think it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then once they come out, you know, once they kind of embrace Bob, then they come out, and the movie wraps up pretty quickly after that.
It does.
Like, really almost immediately.
Yeah, they basically go to grab Valentina and say, like, now you're really done for, but she just slips through like a curtain that they
like
fall through,
tarp.
and it turns out, through these tarps, there's like tarp fence, there's all the press that she had together, and she spins it as, I brought this team together, and
then we kind of get like a major thing.
Yeah.
Where we're into spoilers, so she
Yeah.
announces these guys as the new Avengers.
Yeah.
Which would then all of a sudden you're like, that's why we got the asterisks and stuff, and like, holy cow, boom, movie over. I mean, of course, our credit scenes, but it was like, finally, this is where my enthusiasm really shines through. It's like, finally, we're moving forward. We're not just spinning our tires. This movie does not do the thing where it's like, hey, if you've read every comic book ever, you'll get this super obscure reference we just made to a movie that we're hoping comes out in the next like 7 years.
Yeah.
Which has been a huge complaint of mine with the MCU lately. They don't do any of that stuff here. It feels like it's moving things. Like, it feels like we have focus again.
Yeah. I do wish at the very end when Valentina does that reveal and says, I put them together in the new Avengers, we get Yelena kind of leans in and says, like, we own you now. I wish she would have just leaned in and said, actually, she tried to kill us all and she's guilty of all these crimes. And then they could still be like, we'll be your Avengers, but she's going to jail.
Right.
I wish they just would have done that.
I would like to think there's like, eventually that Valentina character is going to get what's coming to her.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they're just saving it.
Maybe.
But yeah, but then we also get just a really creative, like, no, I'm not talking about the mid and end credit scene. Like, I'm talking about the actual credits where it's like showing them, like, what is it? Like, someone's like holding a flag. Like, it's like drawings of the new Avengers.
Yeah.
Throughout the credits. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about those credit scenes.
Let's do it.
Is it 2 credit scenes or is it?
There's a mid and then there's like
the mid is the Wheaties box. That's right. With
really funny, quick and to the point. Again, David Harbour just killing the comedy, so good. Like, he just like, look, Wheaties. You know,
he's kind of like putting his head right next to it, like
That's
recognize
great.
anything.
Lady's like, yeah, and then as she walks away, she puts the box down. We kick into the '80s song, and it's like, that was perfect. I liked it at least.
Yeah. Then we get to the end credits, which is
which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Longest end credit scene in MCU history.
Interesting. Yeah.
I did read that. again, finally, we've got something that's going to pay off in 2 months instead of in 7 years.
Yeah.
Thank you, MCU, for finally just moving things forward and not dropping these teases that we have no idea when we're going to get the payoff for.
Yeah. So it begins, though, with them having a discussion about, okay, we're the Avengers, right? But also Captain America said he's putting together an Avengers, which was something from Captain America, Brave New World.
So right away, yeah, it's 14 months later, number one. So we get another time jump.
That's right, yeah.
They've got, like, Bucky looks a little different. They've formed this team now. And then, yeah, we established right away that there's a new Avengers, but Captain America, Sam Wilson, is not happy about it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, thank you. We finally have some stakes and some forward progress, and now we got some conflict, and this is all good stuff.
Yeah. Again, minor complaint here. I do feel for Bucky because it's like, oh, we've got two Avengers groups. Bucky's apparently not a part of the new Captain Americas.
Yeah.
And he's on this other one where he's apparently not even the leader because the way it is, like, Bucky's really getting the short straw in a lot of these situations.
I'm just happy from a fan that we're moving forward and we're going to get stuff that's going to pay all this off really quickly.
Yeah. And I would imagine eventually we're going to get an Avengers that just blends these two groups, maybe trims some of the fat on the edges. You know, maybe Ghost isn't long for it.
That'll probably happen.
I do love the idea that Bob is just sitting around.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, I'd love to help, but we know if I help, it comes with that darkness.
And then we also get a great line. He goes, I did do the dishes though. It's like, dude, only the MCU can pull off. These are ridiculous lines in ridiculous scenarios, and they work.
Yeah. But it's nice to know they've got Bob there in the back of their pocket. So when the big, some big villain does come along that this group of Thunderbolts, like, clearly, again, can't match up with.
Yeah. We got Bob.
I hope Bob is in the plans for, like, Doomsday and stuff, that he's going to have a role.
He's in the movie.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have announced that. So that, yeah,
because it would be a bummer if they just sidelined him for good. Like, that's all we can do with Bob.
He's in Doomsday.
Good.
Yep. Yeah. So then we get, hey, there's something in outer space. What is it? They get a funny line too about space, and someone thinks they're talking about like
we got a problem with space or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, well, we'll get a bigger place or something.
Yeah, how can we have a problem with space?
Outer space. And then we see that it's the Fantastic Four ship.
Yeah.
Also got a great reaction from my theater. Like, applause. Oh, let's go. And then once again, we know that in 2 months, the Fantastic Four movie comes out. We don't have to wait an undetermined amount of time for this payoff.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we know that Fantastic Four movie is going to have to explain something because that's set in, the 60s?
Yes.
And then this is a current thing. The ship's showing up in space now. It's like, oh, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
That makes this time jump.
And I've even seen, too, it's like, are we sure the Fantastic Four is in that ship? Is Dr. Doom in that ship?
That's a good point.
So it's like, yes, they're leaving questions, but we're going to get the answers at the latest a year from now in Doomsday.
Yes.
Thank you, MCU. This feels like the old MCU where you would get payoffs and teases, but you knew you were going to get a payoff in a decent amount of time. And that has really been lacking from the MCU post-Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just kind of walked through the movie. I just left this so satisfied and very optimistic about where we're going from here.
Yeah. I do wonder how this movie's going to age for me. I wonder if this for all movies that I enjoy. Just how am I going to feel about it a year from now, 2 years from now? And one of the reasons that I wonder that is because of the viewing experience being that it gets heavier as it goes, and the third act being what it is. It's almost like the first half or 2/3 is rewatchable at a certain level, like that sort of easy throw it on in the background, like
and just
have
listen
fun
to
with
the
it.
banter.
And then the third act is so different.
It is.
Like, I don't feel like that's just a fun, have this on while I do laundry type part. And so I'm like, how is that going to make the whole, am I going to be like, well, I can't just throw that movie on because by the third act, it's going to, so I'm curious how it's going to age
a great point.
in my mind with that sort of sliding emotional scale of this movie. That said, I do expect to continue to like it. So, one of the last things I wanted to do here, I guess we've got a couple more things we can talk about, but I did go through and I was looking at, we've talked a lot about the MCU post-Endgame. And I was like,
big talking point.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to go through and actually like list out and see what my rankings are for the MCU movies post-Endgame. And first off, I was a little surprised. I guess I shouldn't be. It's been a while since Endgame, but This was the, I believe, 14th movie in the MCU since Endgame.
It's a lot.
It's crazy to believe. Yeah, it is a lot because when you think about it, to put some context, like Infinity War was the 19th.
Yeah.
And to think about like
They've done almost.
yeah. We're almost up to that level again. And I'm like, but it feels like we've done significantly less building, like you've talked about. It's been so much more scattered.
Yeah.
That it's like, wow, we really haven't accomplished as much in these 14 as they did in those first 14.
No, not even close, I don't think.
So it's, yeah, kind of wild. But this is, I'll just kind of list my rankings. I'll start from 14, work my way to number 1 when I did this ranking. So number 14 is kind of 14 by default. It's the Marvels. It's the one I haven't seen still to this day. So I had to put that at 14 because I haven't even seen it. 13, I put Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I hardly even remember that movie.
Yeah.
I did see it. I thought it was very great the way that they paid tribute to Chadwick Boseman. A very emotional beginning, and then almost the only thing that I really remember about that movie is introducing that girl who's like Iron Man and being so annoyed by that, and that just sort of
yeah.
And so again, a lot of these maybe I'm not being fair, but that's just where I put it.
Your rankings.
Number 12, Eternals. A movie that I actually, when I saw, I was like, it's not that bad. But like, still, as I look back on it, I go, but there's just nothing really to like,
Didn't need to exist. Like, even Marvel basically just ignores it.
Yeah. Number 11, this hurts my heart, Thor, Love and Thunder, which, I don't know, maybe even should be lower because it was such a disappointment. I just had to remind myself, like, there was some funny parts. I thought Christian Bale was actually really cool in the movie.
Bale's
even
awesome
though,
in that movie.
Yeah, even though the movie didn't work.
No, the movie did not work.
It hurts my heart that was number 11 on a list that, frankly, is not a list of the strongest MCU movies. Number 10, I put Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah.
We talked about that recently. Number 9, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a movie that I don't think is a terrible movie, but it's just kind of a weird movie. And number 8, Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. Another movie that, like, again, has its good parts, but it's just so multiversal. That's like my least favorite part about the MCU. Put a cap on it for you. Number 7, Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
A movie I need to rewatch.
It's pretty cool.
Because I haven't watched it since theaters, cool but I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I like it.
I do think maybe my kind of memory of it is sort of similar, like where the third act was maybe a bit of a mess.
I think at one point there's a dragon.
It just goes so big at the end.
It does.
That I remember, like, I don't know, now that I look back at it, I'm like, I probably should rewatch it because I remember liking a lot of this stuff up to that point.
I liked it.
Number 6, Black Widow. I liked it a lot more than most people did.
I don't mind Black Widow at all.
Again, I thought
it's just weird. It's weird timing.
That's what it was.
It was, and I will say, in defense of the MCU, all this post-Endgame stuff is COVID too.
Yeah.
So I mean, COVID. So they had two major things that were kind of out of their control: was COVID, and then Jonathan Majors getting in legal trouble. I don't even want to get into that, but it's like, those things were out of the MCU's hands. I will say that.
Yeah. Number 5, Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a pretty good movie, but again, I've only watched it the once.
Yeah, it's good.
So many of these I've only seen once.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's really good in that movie.
Yeah. The funny thing is, when I'm making this list, I was making it in that, you're kind of filling in like top and bottom, and I was like, oh shoot, I've got to like figure out where I'm going to put Thunderbolts because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And so I just put a guess. And I'm keeping it where I put my guess. I'm keeping it number 4, Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
It could move. Obviously, we're really recency,
really fresh,
but number 4, Thunderbolts. Number 3, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Now, my top 3 I did actually rewatch all this week.
Oh, nice.
Kind of just coincidentally. My number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with some friends who hadn't seen it, and they wanted to watch it, so I watched it with them. It is super funny. It's a mess of a movie. Like we talked about, it's hardly a movie.
It's not,
It's mostly just a bunch of gags.
It almost just feels like its own thing off to the side.
It does. I want to go back to number 3 and say with Spider-Man: No Way Home. Rewatching it, the first half, I thought, oh my gosh, I remember liking this movie. And I was like, I'm not enjoying this. When the other Spider-Man show up, that movie takes off.
It really
and it is a fantastic second half of that movie when those other Spider-Mans show up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really bizarre. Like, it's a tale of two movies to me because before they show up, I'm like, I am not
into it.
It's just kind of like, it's just bad setup to me. The villains don't do anything interesting in the movie to me. They're just kind of like, we got to have them all show up to be cool. But it's that dynamic when the three of them are together And then
It's
even
like those guys
weirdly,
just having the time of their life.
I mean, the conversations they have where they're even just like comparing the villains they fought, and
It's
they're
incredible.
Yeah, I fought this alien with this goo from outer space. Oh, I fought an alien too. It was purple, and the other guy's like, I never fought an alien. I just fought a guy in a giant rhino suit. Like,
Yep, it's good stuff.
Great stuff. And then you get that's fun, and then you get the emotional stuff of like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saving Mary Jane.
Oh
and
man,
everyone can relate to like when you first saw it, you're like, he redeemed the moment.
He did it.
His,
He did it, yeah.
And you almost feel like tears rolling up your eye, and like,
Yeah.
I totally would not have expected to get that emotional first half in the movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. They probably don't have plans to ever do that team up again, but I'm like, please do, because it worked so well.
It works so well.
And then my number one, which I rewatched today just to confirm, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
It's a really good
I
movie.
love that movie. It might be the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's kind of splitting hairs with those because they're all good.
They're all good.
There's so much emotion and heart
Holy
in that movie.
cow, is there
so
ever.
much fun in that
Yeah.
movie. James Gunn, you got to hand it to him. He's got the best needle drops this side of Scorsese.
man.
Like, he just pairs the perfect songs
He's
with
good.
scenes.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's such a fun movie.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run through that real quick just again to recap.
Yeah.
14 Marvels, 13 Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, 12 Eternals, 11 Thor, Love and Thunder, 10 Captain America, Brave New World, 9 Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, 8 Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, 7 Shang-Chi, 6 Black Widow, 5 Spider-Man Far From Home, 4 Thunderbolts, 3 Spider-Man No Way Home, 2 Deadpool and Wolverine, 1 Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Nice. So I didn't actually have time to construct a full list. I would say
fair.
my number one is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay.
I just think that movie, and like, I'm like you, I really don't like the multiverse stuff, but this movie just does it all. I don't mind the first half at all because I love how well the MCU has done with Peter Parker and the Zendaya character as high schoolers.
Yeah.
That all feels very natural.
There were some good moments in there.
There's
to
some
be
good
fair.
moments. That's just a great movie. It was an awesome theater experience. That was one of the first, like, okay, COVID is over and movies are back. That's like the fourth highest grossing movie of all time. Like, people just latched onto it. Number 2 for me is Guardians 3. Everything you just said. Number 3, I would say Thunderbolts.
Nice.
Number 4, but with the Thunderbolts asterisk next to it, is Deadpool and Wolverine. Because it is super enjoyable, but like you said, it's almost not even a movie. It's almost just, in some ways, I'm almost bitter towards it because it's just the MCU just showing off and doing whatever they want, which is the opposite of what I think the MCU should be doing.
Yeah.
And then really the rest of my list is very similar to yours. I got to say, though, Thor Love and Thunder is the last one for me. That movie's just a disgrace. That movie is like a kid in school who, like, one time told a funny joke and, like, got a good laugh out of it. So he just kept trying to be so funny after that. Like, I just don't like that movie at all.
Yeah.
And everything else, I like Wakanda Forever more than you do. I thought all the ocean stuff was cool and everything, but I don't need to go through everything. I just didn't have time because of my weekend. But it's similar to yours. One thing I will say, I don't like. We talk a lot about the MCU post Endgame. Everybody does. It's not a disaster.
Right.
Like, there's some good movies in there.
I think as I was making that list, I was
Yeah.
like surprised. Like, that's a
Like,
I'm really feel really good about that top 5. Like,
Yeah,
that's
and people talk about it like, boy, it just has not been good or a success since then. Spider-Man No Way Home is one of the highest grossing movies ever, literally. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was a huge hit. Far From Home was a hit. Shang-Chi was a hit. Thor Love and Thunder, it sucks, but it made money. Wakanda Forever made a lot.
yeah.
It's just funny. It's like I said when we did Brave New World, I think. The enemy of Marvel is Marvel.
Yeah.
They've just set the bar so high where people go, what a terrible crop of movies, and it's really not.
Well, and some of it is unfair nostalgia too, where it's like, man, the pre-Endgame Marvel was all great. Well, like Thor 2 doesn't exist, Thor
right.
2 was maybe the worst MCU movie that's been made.
One of my hot takes is that Iron Man 2 and 3 are just not very good movies. Like, Downey's insanely good, but the movies themselves are just kind of okay.
Yeah.
Like, the first Captain America is just kind of okay.
Right.
Like, even the first Thor is good, but these aren't, like, you're right. Don't let history, like, not every one of these was just an A+, like, people swinging from the rafters in the theater blockbuster.
Yeah. Even Age of Ultron was a bit of a disappointment.
It's a little bit of a jumbled mess. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was probably good for me as an MCU fan to look at these 14 movies, even though I didn't do a list like you did, but just go, you know what? It's not. Now, there's some, like, Marvel's doesn't need to exist, blah, 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 blah. Eternals doesn't need to exist, but it's not. Don't let history tell you that it's just a disaster.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
The only thing I would say the legitimate criticism is that they opened too many windows that then they never really explored. They had too many post-credit screens. I mean, like, you see the memes where there's like 6 characters that showed up in post-credit scenes that have literally never been addressed again.
At the end of Eternals, we got a Blade tease, and we had Harry Styles and some weird, goofy creature-looking thing. That will probably never be talked about again. So that is completely valid.
Yeah. I know that I saw that it's doing very well in the box office. Thunderbolts, to go back to that.
I can tell you the numbers.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
So, $170 million budget, I believe. Is that what you saw?
I actually didn't.
It's either 170 or 180. I think it's 170. Worldwide, this weekend made $167 million, $76 million in the U.S. Everyone seems pretty happy with that because it's like these are not the A-plussers.
Yeah.
But the feeling is that this movie's going to have some legs because the reviews. Do you have that? The Rotten Tomatoes and the fan, everything is really high.
I should bring that up right now. But the other thing it's going to have going for it is I think it's kind of a thin next couple weeks.
I think so until Mission Impossible
comes out.
Lilo and Stitch, which I know you're really looking forward to.
Absolutely. So Thunderbolts, 88% from critics, 95% from audiences.
I have a hunch because the MCU typically does even Infinity War and Endgame and these things, they have big second weekend drops. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 had the smallest, I think, second weekend drop in the MCU history. I believe I'm right about that. I think Thunderbolts might give it a run for its money.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have a really good holdover.
Again, between its good word of mouth and the lack of, there's not another big movie coming out next weekend.
No, I think the box office will almost be identical next weekend as it is to this weekend.
Yeah.
Just with a little bit lower numbers. Sinners is still killing it. So theaters are really winning right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love to see it.
Me too. Where do you put Uncle Chip in Thunderbolts?
That was going to be my next question. He definitely should be in the void. They should have gone into a room where Uncle Chip was.
And he's just like smoking and drinking, and they're all just like, oh gosh, this is horrible.
And he's like, welcome to the party. He says something, his bathrobe opens. We don't see it, but they all just go, no.
This is too painful. Even Dark Century
and Bob
is
goes,
like,
this was the worst room that I found. And they go, take us to the second worst room that you found.
That's the answer.
That's great.
That is great.
Oh, man. I love how much mileage we're getting out of Uncle Chip.
Listen, we're milking this.
Who is still one of the greatest characters of the year.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
Let me turn the tables and ask you questions. Did this make you excited for Fantastic Four? Did it change your thoughts about Fantastic Four?
Not necessarily. Yeah. I will say I mentioned earlier that I think of the 3 MCU movies, Thunderbolts had kind of worked its way up to like the most excited I was. So yeah, I mean, like I'm so conflicted on Fantastic Four because I was excited, and then weirdly, like the previews kind of got me not as excited. But I think this does put a little the gas back in the tank.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And just as an MCU fan, I just want it to be good because after Fantastic Four, which is July like 27th or something, the next theatrical movie is Doomsday.
Wow.
Which is the following May. So we get almost a year break. So it really feels important for Fantastic Four to land and to leave us all going, oh man, let me put a countdown on my phone to Doomsday.
Yeah.
Now I think I'm sure there's some Disney Plus stuff coming out between then. But as far as theater goes, Fantastic Four, Doomsday. So the stakes are high, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah. That I don't know that I had quite clocked that it's Fantastic Four, nothing till Doomsday.
It is.
So I'm really curious about Doomsday. It feels like we know so little about it.
I think there's even a part of you that's like, is this actually going to come out next May? Like, is it really? But like, it's filming right now. Yeah. I've seen behind the scenes clips and stuff. Yeah. There's already like fake trailers online. People, if you're listening, there's not a leaked trailer for Doomsday online.
Yeah.
They started filming it like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Chill out.
People need to quit with the fake trailers and the fake movie posters. I'm so sick of seeing
my
movie
gosh.
posters and going like, that's not real. And looking at me like, yeah, of course it's not real. But it's so easy for people to make very good looking fake posters now.
There's a fake poster floating around right now for a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie with Millie Bobby Brown in it. I've seen like 3 people I know repost it. They're like, I'm so excited for this. And I always hesitate. Like, I don't want to be like obnoxious movie guy and just be like,
Well,
it's,
actually,
it's fake. But
Yeah.
it's fake. People.
the one I've seen several times is a Netflix Tremor show with Kevin Bacon returning, and I'm
it's like,
that
coming in
sounds
August.
amazing, and it's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true.
However, the rights to Tremors have gone back. Like, it is possible.
Yes.
But it's not happening right now, people.
Right. But
It's-
don't get my hopes up.
And it's not coming out in August. Like, come on.
Yeah. So yeah, stop trying to fool people.
Don't do that.
I don't know what the upside is.
It's like, yeah, the people that make these, like, you literally did that for no reason.
I mean, I guess if I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, the best possible upside reason they could give is, well, maybe if I put out this fake poster and it gets tons of buzz, the studio will go, well, hey, it's kind of
guess.
like the leaked Deadpool footage, you
Right.
know, like they weren't going to make it, and then we leaked some footage, and it was so popular that they go, well, I guess we got to make
but
it.
that is, yeah.
But that's a
Feels
stretch.
like there's a better use of people's time.
for sure.
Real quick, what was your crowded theater for Thunderbolts?
So it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a very thin theater, but I went on a Friday and I went to a 1:30 showing, and I didn't do the big screen
Gotcha.
because the timing worked out better for a normal screen. But there was like a big screen showing at 1. Actually, the reason I didn't go to the big screen showing at 1 is it was in 3D.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, I don't want that. So I went to the regular size theater. There were so many showings, and I was like, it's Friday, middle of the day, regular screen. I'm not surprised I got the smaller crowd.
Yeah. Good deal.
Yeah. But you had a good crowd.
We went Thursday night to the IMAX and
that'll do it.
5:45 show, good crowd, respectful crowd. Finally, I've been having some rough crowds in movies lately. This crowd was a pretty locked in crowd, so
Nice.
It was a good experience.
Awesome.
And again, not that it should be surprising because the MCU looked great up on the IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Andy, we went long, but it's not surprising since we had a big MCU movie to talk about.
MCU
It had
movies
lots
deserve,
of lots of feelings, lots of thoughts.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap now. I'm not sure what next week will be. We'll discuss it.
Yeah.
We'll be back with something.
We'll have something for you people.
And until then, go see Thunderbolts.
Go see it.
Go
It's a
see
blast.
movies.
And
Lots of
people
good
are right
options.
now. They are. Yep.
And we will see you next
See you
time.
next week.